Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. I wanted to talk to you about the mini bike scooter, which is one of my bigger successes, at least on this channel. And I made lots of mistakes with it. It was my first time welding. I didn't really have a motor picked out for it, and I used what I happened to have, which was not great. Same thing for the controller. There's certain things that I didn't do that I didn't do because I didn't know if there was enough space, if it was going to work. And so after having built it, and now that I can see that some of the things could work, I'm probably going to do them. So, talking about the mini bike scooter, here it is. Still looks pretty good, a little dusty, but you know, not too bad. How well did it ride, you might ask? It was scary. Like most of the things I build are a little scary. Most of that is because the tires are a little wobbly, as well as the steering column. Since it's like unmodified Razor, it basically, can kind of wobble around maybe a quarter inch, and without any actual, movement feedback. So if you get bouncing the right way, it's scary. I did have some thoughts on fixing that, but honestly, I don't know how much time I want to spend on just a fork, or a stem rather, stem and handlebars at that point. I will show you the battery connector because this was run on 10 to 12 cells of lithium polymers. It's a lot easier to charge a 5 or 6 cell LiPo than it is to charge balance charge a 12 cell LiPo, because the chargers just get bigger and bigger and harder to find. So what I did was I got 2 packs, identical packs, and got a series connector for them, which looks like a Y connector. And that's what I was running my scooter off of. And the problem with that was the connectors going directly into the controller, and the connector I put on the controller, over time, they eroded pretty badly. And I believe they were kind of eroded before I used them on the mini bike scooter, because they weren't new at the time. I think I tested with them on something. And because of all this erosion and corrosion, it was probably making a pretty bad connection to the controller. And that could have been one of the reasons that the controller wasn't working that great. Let me tell you a little bit about that. It would work great for the first gentle tests. And then when you started to go giving it a little more throttle, the controller would cut out in some kind of reset, because you could unplug it, plug it back in, and it would work again. Unfortunately, those kinds of controllers are usually made for bicycle hub motors, which are characteristically a lot different than the motor that's in that scooter, which is, I believe, made for military drones, not really sure. It's an Astroflight 3215, if you're interested. Not the motor I would pick for this project, but if you do pick one for a project like this, choose a low turn count, which will give you more torque and draw less current for a given acceleration. I'm going to try to do a few things. I would like to reroute the brake cable as well as the throttle cable through the top, partially the base plate, partially the front area of the scooter. I'll have to put a hole in the aluminum and steel there, maybe a grommet if I can find one big enough, and then pass it right through the deck instead of under the deck like I had before. As somebody commented, thank you. I would like to make a custom battery for this. The only cells I happen to have are A123 Systems 26650 cells, which are great cells, but they're pretty low capacity. So even if I build a 15 cell version, 15 cell, they're lithium iron phosphate, so they're a little lower voltage than LiPo. So 15 cells will give me 48 volts because I happen to have 15 cells left. I can 3D print the ends for that battery. I have to solder them all together, which is the worst part, but it's going to take a while to balance them all, because I'm going to do those without doing a balance. And and try to charge it with a dumb charger. So it'll be a complete scooter package. Hopefully the 48 volts will help as well. The controller is supposed to be a 36 48 volt compatible controller. So new battery, fix the connections. So hopefully less voltage drop, less controller cutting out, maybe. But it's, again, not a great controller for the whole setup. Not a great motor for the whole setup. See what we can do. And put the wires through the base plate. I think that's a wrap. It's going to take a long time, but try to bear with me. Only problem is these connectors are not going to fit. As you can see with the new routing, the brake cable is a few inches too long, as well as it can't really make a right angle right after it passes through the deck. You want as little friction as possible, gradual turns. If the cable is connected, it just tends to hang low like this, which is actually slightly below the bottom of the frame, which obviously I don't like. So I just need to figure out a routing that I like, as well as secure this cable somehow. What I came up with was to reuse one of my little tabs that I had fabbed up for my splitter project, and I drilled an extra hole and it became a zip tie mount for the whole brake cable bundle here. That way it holds the back up a little higher and the front makes a tighter loop and is well above the bottom of the frame. And I think it looks a little better too. Well, that checks one thing off my mini bike scooter list. I think it turned out decent. I like it. I hope you guys do too. And if you did, if you watched any of the video, please give it a like, a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. And stay tuned for more projects that are coming.